Hey, Steeler Nation, welcome back to the Steeler Way Show. Want to make sure that we are centered this time again. Thank you for checking me out. Man, today I want to talk about the center position again. Thank you. If you saw the last podcast, I brought up some different things about some different scenarios. And today at work, I was thinking about what are these different options? What are these different ways that the story, the soap opera of the Pittsburgh Steelers that we live, where it could go, right? And the center position is a position that I almost think that, in a sense, you have to consider you absolute double dip in. You're going to have to take a free agency signing, and you're also going to draft because you're so lacking. That covers like 80% of it, right? Solid thought. The thing about it is, though, is that, we have all these mock drafts and things like that. What I'm looking forward to next week with free agency opening up is what type of center will the Steelers sign? They will sign somebody. They're going to sign somebody older. They're going to sign somebody newer, younger. Please press like if you would. And I think that's going to be some type of a tail into what we can expect. Their storyline into the draft could be. I'm going to break it down to the most basic of how I'm thinking. If we were going to sign someone that was older, much more experienced, at the tail of his career, maybe a 2-year signing, maybe a 2-year signing where we could leave him in a year. If we sign somebody like that, Morris was released from the Bills, but there's other centers out there that are going to be coming out in the free agency that are definitely not like the Williams. I think Williams or Williamson, I forget, from Miami. The cat from the Rams. These are all very good centers, But there's also going to be this center class, and a lot of people may think that the Steelers would not go with an older center. If they were to sign an older center, I do believe that would let us believe that they would have an higher priority list of getting a center in the draft. And what I mean by priority list, I am basically thinking pick 20 or 51. That's what I'm thinking. If you go with an older center hire, you have got to think either 20 or 51 and let this, thing evolve. If the Steelers end up going with somebody that's way more solid and younger, somebody that can be, they always say on the cheap, but someone like Cat Williamson from Miami, or Brewer, I believe his name is, from the Rams. There's another guy that's out there. And if those kind of things, if they hire somebody like that, like say, when I'm saying like that, I mean like $4 to $7 million a year kind of offensive lineman playing in the middle. I think Cole was in the 5 to 6 range. Don't quote me. I think he was around 5-ish, 6-ish. So, I think Khan can work a better player out of those kind of monies. But if he was going to, because I believe when they signed Cole, they wanted to sign Cole to snap the ball successfully for a couple of years, a few years, and he could not do that. He did not do that for us. So I think they have this kind of a budget, and if they were to spend that type of money, then let's say, I like the number 6. So let's just say $6 million, right? If they were to spend less than $6 million a year on a free agency center signing, despite his age or whatever, or connections with the team, I would think that our priorities are going to be higher in the draft. If we were going to pick somebody at $6 million or above a year, our priorities are going to be less. My lead at work turned me on to some stuff like Mr. Obvious. I think it was an old radio show. I never even heard of it. And yeah, Mr. Obvious, first time caller, or something like that. It was a funny skit. And I had never heard it before, so I turned him on to the Jerky Boys. And I just love where I work. I hope you work with great people too. So, if they were to end up signing one of these cats that were, say, $6 million and above, then there could be the chance of the Steelers, because you have to either pick, like, the Steelers would be fortunate, no matter how you feel about, we all want different people at 51. But if you want to go center and you have an older cat signed in free agency, I would imagine the Steelers would have to feel fortunate. They like Georgia if Von Braun was available at 51. That's how I feel. If he happens to be available, and I personally do believe that the tackle class is going to be a little bit bloated out, because there's I don't want to say it's like really good quality. It is good quality. It's great quality. But there's just a lot of. And I can see the cornerback and the wide receiver classes running a little faster. So if they run a little faster, tackle classes run a little slower. And if tackle classes run a little slower, center position is definitely going to run slower. So there is a chance we could get him at 51. Not saying that's the end all be all, but that's the type of quality of a center we could get at 51. If he would be the last, like the benchmark as far as where you would think a team could start this guy at center, right? Like Van Pran, I had to make a song. Like his quality, like people could say he's a starting quality center, okay? Now, and I think that is where it's going to end. Like, he will not start for the Steelers. You have to know, if we are going to have a center. Nate Herbig won't do it. We're going to have somebody that can play center that we can get on a 1-year or a 2-year, if we want to go high on the draft. But he is the last of what 31 other NFL teams would consider being like, we could go into the season with this guy. That's not our team. But you still have to give that qualifications to that player, like every other team would say, like, fuck it, we spent 51 on him, let's start the center. Who would spend a 51 pick at a center and not start him, right? Well, the Steelers wouldn't start him, so we have to expect that. That's why we're getting into this free agency. and what type of free agency signing we do. So what I wanted to look at is if we ended up getting one of these guys in free agency that was a little bit better, and like guy from the Rams, guy Williams or whatever his name is, Williamson. I'll get it right after the podcast. From Miami, and Brewer and popular men players that other podcasts are talking about. If we were to get somebody of that $6 to $7.5 million a year range, the priorities of us drafting a center have dramatically lowered, right? If we keep Nate Herbig, which I don't know if that's even going to happen, but I've been trying my hardest. It's really hard to maybe it's really hard for a dummy. But I mean, it has been difficult for me to figure out who was the remaining people on the Pittsburgh Steelers practice squad. And if any of my watchers have that list, I would love it if you could put it in the comments, because I like with that Cat Cook, I need to want to research him to find out if he has any center experience. If there's another guy that we had on our practice squad, had a weird name like Callan Dirch or something like that. I want to find out, maybe does he have center experience? All that stuff off to the side. But if we were to sign a quality center that we could, and it all depends on how we're looking at it. Are we looking at it 1 year? Are we looking at it a 2 year? It'd be pretty hard to give a guy a 3-year contract right now where our Steelers are. So I wanted to go into what could be a Steeler draft option. What do we have after that? After that 51 pick? Could we get I remember Jason over Mike Drop Sports, he mentioned somebody, and I thought for sure he mentioned a guy from Michigan, but the names didn't match up. But first off, if you've been watching my podcast, I try my hardest to be an Arkansas Razorbacks fan. It's not a very easy team to be a fan of. Go Razorbacks. Bo, I believe it's pronounced, Lemur. I remember hearing a month or so ago talk a little bit about this guy, and it wasn't praisingly from Arkansas. Okay, center is the one position for me that's completely different than the other 4 offensive line positions. Like with this cat, he's 6'5", and I may be wrong. It's just too damn tall to be a center. It's just too tall. I don't know anything, but if you were to ask me, I would say 6'2" is a great center height, right? So, you hear about this, like looking good coming off the bus, not with the center. So this Bo guy, he will probably go 4th round. I did a couple of look up things for him that I follow, and I averaged out to like 123. So, that 120, 121 pick could get a guy like him. I don't recommend it. They have a really neat, I like him a lot. The offensive coach for the Razorbacks kind of went up through the ranks as an offensive line man. You know what I mean? And I think he prides himself on that, and I don't think that he was very happy with the product that was put out there. That line, I mean, they were just not talented. So as far as Bo goes, I say no. It's just too sloppy. He's too as far as he's sloppy, sloppy. I don't want to gamble on sloppy. There's another guy. Now here's going to be probably a favorite of all the fans that I have out there in Pittsburgh, but Hunter Nerez. He's 6'3". I don't know what to tell you. He looks like he's scared. If you look at him, you're looking at a 6th-round pick, but he looks like a scared center. I don't know what that means. Barely above him, you got the next guy, which is basically the same. Nick Garalio from South Carolina. This is way too friggin' tall, dude. 6'5". Okay? Sloppy. Another sloppy ass. They just don't play. And this cat, he can't run block. So it's another no. Okay? This is another 6th-rounder. No. Bite into this however you want. Drake Nugent could be. I put the two together and I came out with a little bit after the 200th pick, and he's 6'2". He ran the shuttle in 4.5.